Hey everyone, welcome to Take 5 with Tom. I'm Tom, your host, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about a source of guitar hum that came from a very interesting place. Had me baffled for a few minutes at least, but once I figured it out it was pretty obvious, and I was thinking, wow, this might be great to share with other people. So let's check out what I learned. Okay, so a little bit of background. A few years ago I wanted a cheap guitar I could keep in my office at work just to practice on. Went to the local big box guitar store chain, found a 2011 Gretsch Electromatic, great little guitar, 150 bucks. Looked at some point like it had been somebody's project guitar. They pulled off the Filtertron that was on the bridge and replaced it with a Seymour Duncan. There was also, and I couldn't figure this out, but there was like a balsa wood shim on the neck to do something. I'm not sure what. To me, all it did was screw up the playability. Pulled that out, set it up. The more I played it, the more I liked it. The more it started to become a project guitar of mine. I put a set of ratios on it. I pulled out the pots and the switch and the jack and redid all the wiring. And then as part of this journey, I got into this whole series of videos on these aftermarket bridges. The promise of better tone and less string breakage and all these other great attributes. So I bought a Graph Tech ResoMax Tune-O-Matic bridge with string saver saddles. Pretty fancy sounding, right? By all accounts, great bridge, lots of positive reviews. I'm not here to refute any of that, apart from this grounding problem that this bridge introduced. It seems like it's been fine. So let me talk about this grounding problem that it introduced. So the string saver saddles are not made out of brass or any kind of metal. They're made out of this stuff called PTFE, which is, I had to look it up to pronounce it, polytetraethylene, I think, something like that.
Polytetrafluoroethylene.
Yeah, that's right. That's the right pronunciation. Okay, so it turns out that one of the properties of this PTFE material is that it's not a great conductor of electricity. And sure enough, when I put the continuity tester on the string and touched it to the bridge, no joy, right? Because the saddle's acting as an insulator, so the string can't make electrical connection to the bridge, which is electrically tied to ground, so you're going to get the hum. So if you put the continuity tester between the string and the tailpiece, yeah, you'll get continuity because they are connected, but the tailpiece unfortunately isn't tied to the bridge or tied to ground. Now, the options for that would be running a surface wire between the tailpiece and the bridge, and that would take care of your grounding problem. And you could continue using the ResoMax. If it's that important to you, that you could do that. I mean, in this guitar, I don't think I like the idea of a surface wire, making that connection for me. The body cavity doesn't seem to be big enough to accommodate me going in and trying to make an actual physical connection that's more concealed. So the choice that I've made in this case is just to go back to the original bridge. I'm sure it's made out of some, non-cool pot metal that's not going to be as resonant and as richly toned. But I think just because I want to eliminate the hum. Now, when I was using my wireless rig, no hum. I've got a noise suppression pedal on my pedal board, and that actually helps. But, there are times when I just want to plug into my JS10 and not have it hum like crazy. And that was one of the things that sort of really brought the problem to my attention. So I'm going to go back to the original bridge and just confirm that that is, in fact, the source of the problem and show you and come back with the 5. Okay, so we went out to the shop, we replaced the Graph Tech ResoMax bridge with the original Gretsch bridge, checked the continuity from string to bridge to output jack to make sure everything was electrically connected to ground. We did, it sounded great. And, there was still a little bit of a residual kind of low-level hum on the JS10, but I get that with all my guitars, but it was not nearly as bad as it was. When I plugged it into my amp and my pedal board and turned my noise suppressor, my Boss NS2 off, clear as a bell. So very quickly, though, I just want to make sure that this is not construed as a negative review of the Graph Tech ResoMax bridge. In fact, I think it sounded great. The guitar sounded great with that bridge on it when I was using it in wireless mode or with the NS2 on. So it's a fine bridge. In fact, I would say that it probably added some mid and low tonality to it because I just noticed, the guitar seems to sound a little bit brighter now. So there is a difference. I don't want to say that one is better necessarily than the other because I didn't do a detailed tonal comparison like you see on some of these channels where they do a really comprehensive review. I didn't do that myself. I just wanted the hum to go away. Okay, so that seems to have solved our problem today. Let's talk about the 5 takeaways. Okay, so takeaway number one. Your strings need to be grounded. They just do. I mean, it's electric guitar, it's metal, it needs to be tied into ground. And you can use a continuity checker to make sure that you've got that connection between the string, the bridge, and the output jack. Number two, get yourself a decent continuity meter. If you're going to be doing any kind of work on your guitars at all, you're going to want one of these. I picked this one up for about $30. I've got a link in the description to it at Home Depot. It's a Klein. It's fantastic for the purposes that I need it for. It's got a nice little audible continuity checker, so when you touch two things, if there's a connection between the two of them, it beeps and you get confirmation. So make sure you pick one of those up if you're going to do any electrical work on any of your guitars. Okay, so number three, if you're going to be using one of these trendy bridges like the ResoMax, the Graph Tech ResoMax Bridge with the PTFE string saver saddles, keep in mind that those string saver saddles are made out of an insulating material. So especially if you've got a Les Paul style bridge setup with a separate bridge and a separate tailpiece, you have to make sure that both the bridge and the tailpiece are tied to ground. Otherwise, your strings won't be grounded and you could run into grounding or buzzing issues. Okay, so number four, today I learned that PTFE is pronounced
polytetrafluoroethylene.
Just like that. Number five, working on your guitars is extremely satisfying. Now, I'm not a pro. I hack around for myself. I don't play in a band, jam with a few people once in a while, but mostly what I do for myself. And I just got to the point where I wanted to start playing around with my guitars and hot rodding them and setting them up and all this other stuff. And there's just so many great resources out there. There's so many great tools. It's not a lot of money to buy all the stuff that you really need to do setups and, and basic work and even more advanced stuff. And I'm going to be doing some more videos on what I've learned, certainly about doing luthier work and electronic work on guitars. So it's very satisfying. There's just a lot of great resources, and it's something that if you own a guitar, it's a great way to avoid having to bring it down to the local big box guitar place and waiting for their services or trying to find a good guitar tech in your area. So that's it for Take 5 with Tom on this episode. I've added a bunch of links in the description about all the different products that I talked about today. I don't make any money off them because this channel isn't big enough yet. If you learned something, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on another Take 5 with Tom.